service of the NTA.
Which is the fastest developing sport in Nigeria at the moment? Football? No. Wrestling? No. Basketball? Yes. Without question, basketball is Nigeria's fastest developing sport. In the past few years, the sport has recorded tremendous growth and development at domestic, national, and international levels. Basketball, like football, is now actually close to a major breakthrough in independent funding of its domestic programs and competitions. All these gains are on temporary hold as a result of the ongoing crisis in the administration of the Basketball Federation. November 30, the deadline given by FIBA for the crisis to be resolved by the Nigeria Olympic Committee between the two factions has come and gone without a headway. 2 days ago, in a letter addressed to the Nigeria Basketball Federation, the World Basketball Governing Body has extended the grace given to the stakeholders of Nigerian Basketball Federation to resolve their crisis to the end of February 2018. This is all a shame because FIBA will eventually step in and do what the NOC and the two feuding factions could not do. There is a good side to all of this, however. At the end of this, the result will impact administration in all other sports federations going forward. On the Sports Parliament tonight, we shall be looking at the way forward again, hopefully for the very last time. I am Segun Odegbami, Speaker of the Sports Parliament, your weekly diet of sports, the best of sports, on your largest television station in Africa, NTA, coming to you live from our studios in Lagos today. Sitting with me tonight, this time we are starting from the left, not from the right, is Barrister Agu Imo.
Good evening, Mr. Speaker. Good evening, Nigerians.
And for the first time on the show, a sports physiotherapist, Kulthum Bakari.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Nice to be in the Parliament.
It's so nice to have a beautiful woman amongst us. Well, and to my immediate right, our regular here, he's now becoming an encyclopedia. I don't want to miss him every week, Dr. Kweku Tanda.
Good evening, Mr. Speaker. It's nice to be here.
And sitting next to him is our great Olympian, the legend, one of the very few Nigerians in our entire history that holds a gold Olympic medal, Ene Udo Obong.
Good evening, Mr. Speaker. I'm glad to be back.
And tonight we have a very special guest to help us throw some light on this subject that appears to be intractable, but which to me is very simple. He is a former national coach of Nigeria, former board member of the Nigeria Basketball Federation, and club owner, a major stakeholder in Nigerian basketball, Ayo Bakari.
Good evening, Mr. Speaker. It's my pleasure to be here.
We have two Bakaris on the show.
Any relation?
Interesting.
And all the other Bakaris out there in Nigeria. You can join us on the show tonight. You remember that scrolling across your screens now with the social media platforms, you can join any one of them. And of course, it's streamed live on YouTube, that's Sports Parliament on YouTube. And our short code is 32120. We haven't had any competition on the show for a while, but I think next week we are going to resume that. So 32120. What you do is mind, spell the word mind, M-I-N-D. Leave a space, put your message, leave a space, put your name, and then send to 32120. Join us after the break.
You're here already?
No, now my spirit day, my body day for house. What kind of question is that? Were you not the one that fixed this meeting for 8 a.m.? You are now coming by 10 a.m. and start asking me job questions.
But Chief, now, I'm sorry. Don't you also go late for meetings sometimes? You know now, African time.
No more African time. And no more pancaking of face during office hours. At the end of the day, we will lose valuable time. We will not make progress. If we want to move this nation forward, we must treat business as business and respect time. Change begins with me.
Thank you, sir. I am sorry. Can we go for the meeting now, Chief?
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Nigerians, our fearless officers and men of the Nigerian military are winning the war against Boko Haram. Today, all occupied territories have been recovered and Boko Haram has been degraded. Our affected brothers and sisters are getting their lives back. However, they are now after you and me. In our mosques, churches, schools, motor parks, markets, entertainment centers, and public gatherings. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria, unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is the Sports Parliament once again. Well, you know enough about this issue, how two flawed elections were held, and Nigeria is now saddled with two presidents for the Nigeria Basketball Federation, and how FIBA intervened and asked the NOC to sit and resolve the issue and gave a deadline of November 30. Well, the deadline came and went, and we all felt that the world was going to end. The world did not end. Nothing happened. In fact, the silence was like that of a graveyard. And suddenly, 2 days ago, a letter came in from FIBA. I would like to read the letter, please. It is addressed to the Nigeria Basketball Federation, and it is by email, and the title of the letter, because that's very important, Elections for the NBBF. Elections for the NBBF. And it says, very interestingly also, Dear SARS. It didn't say Dear Sir. It says Dear SARS. So who was the letter referring to? Is more than one person. So probably the two feuding presidents. And they made reference to their letter of July 26, and they now said, FIBA has reviewed and analyzed the documentation sent to it within the deadline. The FIBA Central Board, which met at the House of Basketball on December 9, 2017, has decided the following. 1, to extend the deadline established in our letter to February 28, 2018. To extend the deadline. To establish, number 2, a FIBA delegation that will visit Nigeria to perform a fact-finding mission. The findings of such mission will be reported to the FIBA Executive Committee, which will meet on 10 March 2018. The delegation will be composed of the following persons: Mr. Alfonso, FIBA Executive Director, Africa; Mr. Kotleba, Advisor to the Secretary General; and Mr. Konde, FIBA Competitions Commission member. They are all foreigners. We will be in contact shortly to arrange the precise details of the visit of the FIBA delegation, signed by the Secretary General of FIBA, and it is copied to the President of the Nigeria Olympic Committee, President of the FIBA Africa, President, Executive Director of FIBA Africa, and advisor to the Secretary General and FIBA Competitions Commission member. It wasn't copied to any other Nigerian, just to the Federation, one letter, and copied to Habu Gumel, the President of the Nigeria Olympic Committee. Chief Ayo Bakri, I like to call you Chief.
It's actually Mr.
Chief Ayo Bakri. So, you are here to help us throw some light into all of this. We are not going into the details of what happened. What we are really interested in is, well, a new deadline is coming. What is going to happen between now and then? We have listened. As I read this letter, it does not say much, yet it says everything. So, you just help us look into the immediate future. What is going to happen? What has happened in other climes that we can take something from, so that we can start to have an idea of what can possibly happen in this case before parliamentarians can come in and make their own suggestion as to where we're going.
Thank you very much, sir. The task before me is not an easy one. And I say it's not an easy one because looking straight ahead without the benefit of a little hindsight to shed light on how FIBA would be thinking going forward will be difficult, but I will attempt to do.
Please do, because we don't have so much time.
Yes. The letter by itself means is a sad reflection of the fact that FIBA had infinitely far more confidence in us to clean up our mess than we had in ourselves. The thing contained in that letter is what FIBA could have done 3 months ago from the beginning. Come on a fact-finding mission, get all their documentary evidence, and go back to Congress. But they had a lot of confidence in us that surely with 4 or 5 months we'll find an internal solution that will not need interference. So what that letter is doing essentially is to press the reset button. And we're going back to where we were 5 months ago, which is that now FIBA realizes, they realize now that the ministry and the NOC are irretrievably interwoven into this mess, and that they can't really look to either factional president or, I say this with the greatest respect, or even NOC for an outright resolution. So they have decided to take the matter into their own hands, and that is the import of that letter. Nothing has changed dramatically. They will maintain communication through the FIBA, through the KIDA-led board, because it says an extension. An extension means you are carrying forward the same terms, you know, with just a different term. So they will keep communication with them. And
what is the extension? Is it an extension of the tenure, or is it an extension of the dates?
As far as FIBA is concerned, we do not have a board in place. We have 2 factional boards.
Okay.
That is why in their letters they referred to it as 2 different elections. So there is no board in place, but for the purposes of communication, and FIBA was careful to declare this in all its previous correspondence, that it is not a recognition or endorsement of either board. It is purely for the purpose of communication.
So has there been any antecedents or, you know, examples we can pick from? I hear that recently during their meeting, this last meeting, that there were certain decisions taken about Peru and Chile that had similar cases or something close to this.
Yes,
give us an inkling into that.
Peru had issues, Venezuela had issues that were eerily similar to what we have here. In one situation, there had been a court ruling, you know, to get the ministry or the government body, you know, to be the one to issue election guidelines, similar to what we had. Of course, that is an anathema to NOC statutes and the IOC statutes. So they rejected that roundly. The second issue, there was a factional issue like what we have here. Our own was the third matter And that's where I said it is sad that while FIBA took the others far more seriously, Nigeria was considered to be a problem that we would resolve internally. You know, but sadly, we haven't risen up to the plate.
Parliamentarians, sharp. He's here for you.
Well, I don't know.
You know, in terms of how we relate to them. Be that as it may, there is also another angle. This debacle you are witnessing is actually created by the NOC and the ministry, not by those two combatants.
You're actually lumping them together.
The NOC
and the ministry, I mean.
And the ministry.
Yes.
Yes. They have had different episodes of where they were on the same page and wanted the same election and had the same guidelines. They have had other evidence. You see a file before me. I never speak without facts. Everything I will tell you, if you want to see the evidence, is here. You understand?
Go on.
So what happened initially, sir? Again,
without going into
prejudice too much,
Yeah.
is that the NOC actually, after 2013, when the IOC wrote us as Nigeria to say, don't do this again, independent and autonomous elections for federations, the NOC actually circulated a template to all federations to do their own
constitution.
Yes. In the particular case of the NBBF, the NSC had many opportunities along the route to not let things go as far as it went. The NBBF Tijani board wrote to them in March, in June, to forward the constitution to them at the time that they were also forwarding it to the FIBA. FIBA kept responding to the stage where they even wrote them that they wished them a successful elections. All the documents are here. You know, now at that point, the NOC should have moved to say, look, we are doing something illegal which we are not going to support on the long run. But they then went one step further. The NOC then sought the Honorable Minister's permission formally to take 5, sports, including basketball, and they wrote to the minister requesting for an exemption for those sports. You understand me? That they can go and do their election because of the conditions which they listed here that basketball has satisfied, including domiciliation of their approved constitution with NOC. I hope you understand why I am saying now that this problem is created by that. So my board was led in a direction that was then they wrote a letter saying, okay, come, this is the date of the elections. Please come and witness these elections. NOC went as far as to actually nominate somebody to attend the independent elections of NBBF.
We didn't hear of this before.
That's why I said it's difficult to move forward. These are all, I never speak without facts.
Okay, do you know what we're going to do? Because we have only 1 hour on this show. And we can spend the entire show listening to the version, your version, of the things that have happened, which sound very, very credible. But parliamentarians have to still come and say a few things, ask you a few questions. We have had enough of the past. Let's go on a short break. Calm down a little. And when we come back, then they can now take you on and ask you 1 or 2 other questions. Okay? All right. When we come back.
Is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil war are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't. Yes, there are a lot of things that Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
Under no conditions whatsoever should we tolerate or excuse or justify hate speech or hateful conduct of any kind, especially when such is illegal.
There is no doubt that the resurgent push for separatism, as well as the rising cases of ethnic and religious disharmony, are all traceable to the growing phenomenon of hate speech.
One nation bound
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Chief. Good morning, sir. You're here already?
No, now my spirit day, my body day for house. What kind of question is that? Were you not the one that fixed this meeting for 8 a.m.? You are now coming by 10 a.m. and start asking me job questions.
But Chief, now, I'm sorry. Don't you also go late for meetings sometimes? You know now, African time.
No more African time. And no more pancaking of face during office hours. At the end of the day, we will lose valuable time. We will not make progress. If we want to move this nation forward, we must treat business as business and respect time. Change begins with me.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry. Can we go for the meeting now, Chief?
Better.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Welcome back. Well, this is the Sports Parliament coming to you live from our studios in Lagos. Lukman has been waiting there. As soon as we came in, I told him that his predictions last week were about 50%. I want some money. So let us hear. The one that was so glad last week was the one about Man City and Man U. You failed woefully in that regard. So let's hear you this week.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This weekend, the entire Premier League will be hoping that Tottenham can do them a favor when they play Manchester City. Can they do it? That's $1 million question. Elsewhere in Europe, there's a big game in France. Welcome to European football in 300 seconds. My name is Lukman Ogunwolu. These are key focus fixtures for the weekend. Eintracht Frankfurt Schalke 04, Olympique Lyon take on Olympique Marseille, Reims take on Paris Saint-Germain, Inter Milan take on Udinese, Barcelona Deportivo La Corona, Eibar Valencia, Arsenal Newcastle United, Chelsea Southampton, Manchester City, Tottenham Hotspur. We begin in Germany. Frankfurt Schalke, but things are performing well at the moment. And there should be a game for the neutrals to enjoy, so I'm going for you to draw here. In France, second place Lyon take on fourth place Olympique Marseille. There is a much separate between these two sides, so I'll go for a draw here to 2-2. Take on PSG. PSG have won the last 5 fixtures between these two sides, and I think that trend will continue here. 3-1 to PSG. In Italy, to Chelsea. Finally, to the biggest game between Man City and Tottenham. City is unstoppable at the moment. Spurs are their last biggest test in the Premier League among the big six. One thing we can expect at the Etihad at home.
Of the audio there. I hope that they heard you. If you want me to run through it again, I could. All the matches will end in the draw. So everybody can win something. Well, I don't know if my producer had that thing slotted in. I don't know much about bobsled or what you call that sport, the winter thing, but I hear that there are 3 Nigerian girls who are doing great stuff there. If you are set, let's just for the next 2 or 3 minutes, just see what they are doing.
Winter Olympics, a sport very much unpopular in Nigeria for obvious reasons, but that did not deter the trio of Seun Adigun, Ngozi Onwemere, and Ukoma Omeoga.
I'm trying to start an entire federation with no blueprint for not only just a country but a continent, because there's never been another African country with a bobsleigh federation.
I'm like, oh, as I'm coming down, I'm like, oh yeah, I see 10. I'm like, well, why?
Africa's never been represented, man or woman, in the sport of bobsled at any games.
It's the first culture that any of us have ever known, and to bring that out with bobsled, something that's completely foreign to the nation of Nigeria, words can't even describe what that means. Honestly.
They defied all the odds to make history as the first Africans to qualify for the Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang in South Korea in 2018. The women who were all born and grew in the United States of America had to raise the funds to finance the project of training and competing.
Nigerian people love sports. So if we can bring positivity to not even just Nigeria, to Africa, to all around the world, I think that's a good enough goal.
This has never been about me, and it's a blessing because I came in with the most selfless attitude and also had 2 brakemen who joined me with the same selfless attitude.
Driven with passion and the desire to write their names in gold, the international media just couldn't help but take note of the exploits of the women who actually started the sport with homemade wooden sled.
I had previously built a bobsled out of wood that I used as a training tool. I had never driven a 2-man bobsled before we all got on ice together.
Getting on ice for the first time, I was under the impression that bobsled would feel like a roller coaster, which I was so excited for. But when I finally did, I found out that it wasn't like a roller coaster.
It definitely didn't feel like a roller coaster.
Practice is always a party. We like have celebratory dances after we like do something well, or we're like, ah!
We have a great time, but we're very serious about making sure that we're able to give this back to Nigeria.
In the Nigerian culture, to be able to do something different and be successful, it's pretty hard, so it holds a lot of weight.
Young girls looking up to us, you are the driving force in your life. If you believe in yourself, then the world is going to see it.
And we are a testament to that. We're 3 just simple girls. We dreamed big. It's not going to be easy, but we can really do this. Most people don't really understand what bobsled is. Like, some people are like, this is bobsledge. Some people are like, they're creating all kinds of things, but they don't care. They just know that the flag is raising high and they're excited about it.
So. Not to mention my dad thinks he's a celebrity now because everybody that texts him, they're like, that's your daughter.
We're still learning how to do bobsled. I fortunately have been in the sport this will be my 3rd season, but my first season as a driver fully is this one. Like, imagine taking a 16-year-old who just learned how to drive and throwing him in Daytona. It's one of those things where, yeah, he knows how to drive, but it is a whirlwind. Like, every time, literally, I cross the finish line, I'm screaming because I'm like, thank God we survived.
So, come February 2018 in Pyeongchang, South Korea, the Nigerian flag will be flown for the first time at the Winter Olympic Games, thanks to the bobsled women team of Nigeria.
Hey! What's up, homie? For real? Yeah.
Wow, welcome back. Well, we wish those girls the best of luck. But I must say this before we go on. A couple of months ago, I think it was in August, I was in Houston, Texas. I just walked into a restaurant with a friend, and there were Chief Solomon Ogba and a group of people, and they were actually discussing this bobsled thing. I think he is the president.
I was just trying to create his name is not always mentioned, but it wouldn't happen without him, because
definitely.
He had pushed everything from the beginning. He sponsored them initially. He got them the first bobsled. He brought out the wooden, made the wooden bobsled and distributed in about 4 or 5 centers across Nigeria. So he has been promoting and be pushing for this federation. So I think we should always give him thumbs up for the work he's done for the girls.
Well done, Chief Solomon Oba. You know, just to attest to that, I met him there and actually did some kind of launching somewhere in town, and I went to the venue to go and see what they were doing and all of that. But that's by the way. Back to the issue on ground and over to the parliamentarians. Probably we should ladies come first.
Thank you very much.
Comment, ask a question, do whatever you want to do.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Chief Bakari, I would follow in the Speaker's footsteps. My question or my own comment will be that the essence of a federation is to run the sport for the benefit of the athletes. So, in going forward, the two factions, as it were, if their purpose really is for the benefit of the athletes, then how is this still continuing, and how are we going to be able to stem this tide for the benefit of these athletes so that Nigeria doesn't miss out on so many? I mean, there's been a lot of confusion that had happened, you know, following this issue of factionalization, but we have to think about the athletes involved now. So how do we now do that with this new deadline that has been given by FIBA?
Well, thank you very much, madam. You are a bit hamstrung as a country with this deadline, because the implications of this deadline are several. The first one is that no sponsor in his right mind would invest money in a sport which has a deadline of the next 2 months, and the people he hands over money to may no longer be in charge. You see the mess going on right now with the Kwesi money that was released to the former board and the new board is creating. So that's the first impact you're going to have. If anything is to happen now, it has to be through funds that are sourced by whoever is in charge.
The government.
Not the government. Even the government can't really do that. The government doesn't fund. Well, as you know, sir, the government is actually responsible mainly for national teams. Not for local leagues. Yes.
Coming up in February.
Yes.
Government will fund that.
It will be a tall order with this in place. Okay. The government normally has a lot of excuses. This one is God-given, presented to them. No.
Yeah, so,
what I want to say is, for me now, the way the letter has stated, I think it's actually out of our own hands now, in terms of what happens next. Right now, we're to wait for FIBA to come. They will come to the investigations, go back, and take a decision.
Yeah.
So it's out of our own hands now. Like Chief Bakari mentioned, they gave us a 3-4 month period to settle it internally, which we did not make use of. So right now, it's out of our hands. The deadline is not for us to settle anything any longer. The deadline is for them to make arrangements to come in with their fact-finding team, go back and take a decision. And that's
so if we settle before they come, will they refuse it?
I was actually going to say that.
But you know that is not likely.
You know that does not foreclose on a peaceful or amicable resolution.
If we have not done that in 5 months,
no, but maybe you can change dynamics. So you haven't say you can do anything. Yeah. You are also assuming now.
No. Whatever the deadline of that time that they extended, part of the terms of that deadline.
Don't forget amicable resolution.
Yes, but they now said that within that deadline, they received documentation. That means that's what you could do within that period.
Yes, sir.
They received. Now is for them to come, and they're not satisfied with what they received in terms of settlement. So they're sending a team to come in.
Yeah.
If you settle now, they're still going to come.
No, but sir, with the nomenclature of extension, I want to believe that it's still, the term still holds.
They will just ask.
Exactly, I think so.
My own take on it is that this is not a 1-year problem. It's a 20-year problem. We have not settled it. Let's come and settle and take a decision and let's move forward. Honestly,
and all of sports,
like Kultum said, the players are suffering. The sport is suffering. So if it takes them to come in to take a decision, let them come in and take a decision, and then we build up from there.
Mr. Speaker, if I may come in, the issues here, okay, are not too many. The primary issue here is that, is there a constitution? No. In order to resolve this matter, we must go back. It's documentation. The constitution sets out.
Are we resolving anything?
No. Let me make my point, please. Okay. Now, the constitution makes provision for the running of basketball in Nigeria. It makes provision for how elections are going to hold. Was it followed? If it was not followed, the other thing which it does is that I have the FIBA statutes right open before me, and what it says is that national member federations shall establish a system for the resolution of disputes by dependent arbitration, excluding to the extent legally possible recourse to the state courts. They shall promote recourse to and recognize decisions of the Court of Arbitration for Sports and the awards of the Basketball Arbitral Tribunal, and shall ensure that said decisions and awards are legally binding for and enforced by national member federations, clubs, leagues, players, and all that. So they have made provision for how we are to resolve our issues. Now, if we decide that we want to be dealing with an NOC, which is not a part of this arrangement, or a Ministry of Sports, which is a complete stranger to this matter, then we are getting it wrong. Another thing which they say here in Article 7.2 is that they will recognize only one association per country. So the fact that we have more than one means that we are already in violation of their rules. Yeah. So if we do not resolve our issues quickly, what will happen is that we will face a ban.
No. We have gone past that now.
They will still go back to their rules.
Can I comment on the ban?
They have intervened already. This is the letter. They have intervened. They have taken charge. There's no ban. There's no ban. There's not. Look at the letter. It says elections for the NBB. This is all a matter of elections, and the elections will be done.
If I can shed some light on that, sir. The only circumstance where an international federation, such as FIFA, FIBA, or anything, bans a country is after it has given directives. And the government or people of that country decide to frustrate the implementation of that decision. We have not yet done that. They cannot ban us for fighting. You understand me? You know, they cannot fight us for ban us for being quarrelsome and unable to live with each other. It is only after they come back and tell us this is what to do. If our minister, who by the way is a lot more experienced now and wiser than the FIFA situation, you know, if our minister gets up and says no, that is the man I want as president, whether FIFA likes it or not, then they will ban us. But unless you do something against their directives or frustrate the implementation of whatever they say, you cannot be banned.
Can I just put in one with it, because I will stand on the speaker's title and say Chief Bakari. You have for us to move forward, you have at one point or the other being like an arbitral intermediary between the two factions. What are the key things that you feel is holding us back or holding from moving forward? What are the key things each faction is holding on to?
Okay, can I first of all discountenance or at least discount the generally held notion that this is about ego and personalities? No, I know every major combatant in this matter. We have been friends, acquaintances, or whatever you take for at least the better part of 3 decades. So we have history. You see me? We have also all worked together. When I say all, the parenthesis includes people on both divides. Tijani Umar, Musa Kida, myself, Sam Ahmed, we have all been on the same board, ongoing now for at least 2 to 3 terms. I'm not 20 years old. I'm not one of the Mugabes. I beg to be excused.
You're not yet a Mugabe.
No, I'm not yet a Mugabe. No. So essentially, we have history. The issue is not personal, but some things have crept in. You will notice we did not fight quite as much when there was no Kwesi League. Suddenly, the economics of emergence of basketball is playing a large role. You understand me? This is okay, I'll give you an illustration. There was a statement, a press conference, at which it was suddenly revealed that we, as in the Nigerian people, are owing a single individual on the new board in excess between 200 and 400 million naira.
Wow.
In 3 months, I will send the video to you later, sir. You know, in 3 months of activities.
During this period?
During this period. There is no men's league, no women's league, no development, but no under 16, purely for that. And this is a board, or these are all people on both sides of the divide who reassured us that, in fact, the vaults were swimming with cash as a prerequisite to both of them, either faction being coming in. So how come we managed to borrow 200 to 400 million naira unknown to us during that period? The finances are coming. Kwesi is suddenly by itself worth about $2-point-something million a year. During our own time on the board, during our own time on the board, that was our generational budget.
Yes, now.
Not an annual budget, it was a generational budget for us.
But that's a great achievement.
Yes, but now
it's now the cause of friction.
I can't deny.
Who's going to control that kind of money?
Yes, you can see the battle.
That's the context.
Yes, and then the peak money, all the other monies are suddenly coming in.
So it's an economic battle.
There is an economic angle to it.
Okay, we agreed battle. Kulthum, a comment? Say something. We are giving you an opportunity to shine.
After today, you'll be one of us.
This is it's a pretty complex, complicated scenario based on everything, the information that we didn't have before that we're getting now. But like the speaker said, it is how to move forward that we want to propose, and hopefully this can help basketball that is emerging to continue on that path. So we now have to decide, or the parliament has to decide that, okay, this is what we propose. Yeah, I mean, we can prefer and make suggestions.
I can prefer. Let me be the first to prefer something that the combatants should be excluded totally, and let us bring out new combatants.
Who will exclude them?
That's stakeholders.
What is the membership of the Basketball Federation? How do you qualify for membership?
For the board?
The association.
Yes.
The board comes from the membership, from federation.
Okay, that's
the board comes.
Yes. So that we can just go into the last lap of this conversation, and nothing will stop us till the end. Let's go on a short break. When we come back, then we just go on the last lap and we roll out of the program. Okay? Short break.
Is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
Under no conditions whatsoever should we tolerate or excuse or justify hate speech or hateful conduct of any kind, especially when such is illegal.
There's no doubt that the resurgent push for separatism, as well as the rising cases of ethnic and religious disharmony, are all traceable to the growing phenomenon of hate speech.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Well, welcome back. If you are just joining us, it's been truly interesting, the conversations that we have had today. This is the Sports Parliament coming to you live from our studios in Lagos, NTA Studios. That's Africa's largest television network. I'm always so happy to just, say that because it is true. Seen in all the nooks and crannies of Nigeria. Well, we are getting to the end of this program. So we'll just take it quickly, our comments or any question. Not that your question that you asked during the break.
Okay, my question is this. How do I get to be a member of the basketball federation?
Okay, the structure is this. There is an international IBF, which is the FIBA.
Yes.
But the Nigerian basketball is a member of that. If you want to use the word affiliated to that.
Yeah, that's the one
now,
I
for
like
you to become a member of the Nigerian Basketball Federation, there are 3 routes. The historical route was through the appointment and elections by the Ministry of Sports. That was the historical route.
You see the problem.
That was historical sports.
Number 2.
You understand me? The legal route, as backed by FIBA statutes and the International Olympic Charter, is for each federation to have a constitution which determines its membership. That is what. But right now
we don't have that.
You have.
Okay.
Right now the two actually overlap. They have 6 geopolitical zones. Okay. They have members from Referees Council,
from club
owners and so on.
Coaches.
So they have a round figure of 13.
It's a long
pursuant to the constitution.
Yes.
And then number 3 ways, which way? You said 3 ways.
Well, what is going on now, which is different people having different.
If you are a club owner, you as an individual, if you want to be part of the basketball family, go and own a club. He owns a club.
Or be a sponsor. Or be a sponsor. That you can be a stakeholder through sponsor. Well, generally, I think we have to look forward and move forward, whatever is behind, and we have to think more especially about the athletes. Basketball has risen so high, and like Mr. Speaker says, one of the fastest growing sports in Nigeria. I wouldn't want to say fastest because we have track and field still there. and bobsled.
Table tennis.
Yes. But the athletes have been doing a lot of good things. We've risen to African champions, both in the male and the female, and they're doing very well locally. So I think we should the focus should be on what is good for the athletes, and then
shouldn't the focus be what is good for the audience?
No. The athletes first. The athletes come first. Then the athletes will package something for the audience. So once we think about that, and we feel that there are people resisting. There's a time that there were two people resist, or two factions resisting the progress of democracy in Nigeria, and both were eliminated. I think the same thing should happen in basketball.
This goes beyond individuals, because it's not that they have their different armies. Anyway,
the individual. Look, the armies will always follow a leader. I was a soldier. What they have a leader, the next that we follow.
Yes, I want to toe the line of and also say that, interestingly, during this period, we've had great successes in basketball, both male and female, and it just tells us the potentials that are available for us if we put our acts together. That means there's so much that can be achieved in basketball, and also looking at the economic aspect of it. The more the success, the more money comes in. I hope that doesn't mean the more trouble also comes in. But honestly speaking, I think we really need to move forward. And for me, if we have not been able to resolve this issue in the last 5 months, please let FIBA come in, take their decision, and we abide by whatever decision that they take.
Is the election. No, my own is that, what is the difficulty in having elections again? I don't understand. Why can't we not just have proper elections supervised by whoever, whether it's the ministry or...
According to what rules?
That's the
there seem to be a lot of gray areas.
No, FIBA
with the document on ground.
FIBA will set the guidelines.
Elections dependent on delegates.
So, Chifayo.
Okay, sir. A new set of elections. We're all aware what the IOC Charter says about the autonomy of, and I'm happy that you, sir, have the guidelines in front of you. Yeah. It is specific about the need for them to be autonomous. It specifies elections as one of the matters that must be handled with autonomy
Yes.
and without involvement of government. We're all familiar with that.
Yes.
So if FIBA comes back and says we want to invent something out of this mess, it's likely to be a call for fresh elections. Now, the fresh elections, would it exclude these two present people? Not very likely. And I speak as an insider in the basketball family. It's like you saying that Mikel Obi, you understand me, is too troublesome.
Yes.
You understand me? And then you bring Ike Bakari from my village. Your expression shows you haven't heard of him. You know, but then you bring him in to replace Mikel Obi. The basketball community does not have so many giants that can administer basketball as well as these two, and maybe a couple of other ones. Plenty of Indians, not as many chiefs. Yes, sir.
On that note, Agu, please, we've come to the end of the show. Move a motion for adjournment. The topic for next week is that of the NFF. So
Great.
Move a motion.
Ladies and gentlemen, Speaker, Mr. Speaker, sir, parliamentarians, I move the motion for adjournment now.
You didn't mention the topic.
Okay, I move a motion for adjournment, and the topic for next week will be the topic that is the closest thing to the hearts of Nigerians, the NFF.
And the recent issues we have with ineligible player
and the fiasco
consequences and all
that
of
happened
that
in
and all of
Algeria, where a ineligible player played for 90 minutes, and at the end of the day, Nigeria just ended up qualifying by the skin of his teeth.
Parliamentarians, if you are in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
If you are against, say nay. I heard one nay somewhere. The ayes have it. Good night.
I won't be around there.